mark for 10 minutes. Please make sure you hold on to your ticket stubs if you're intending to go away and come back, or just talk to the ushers as you're going out, and we'll try to help you out. This has been a very interesting year for the Toronto International Film Festival. I think what we're starting to see is a really unusual and interesting merging of multiple media that have felt very separate over the years. You know, there's film and cinema, which has been our core activity, but we're starting to see extraordinary work coming to us from the visual arts, the new media universe, and especially these days from longer form television. And what's been so interesting about that is that some of our favorite filmmakers, some of our favorite collaborators we've worked with over the years have been involved in this form. And before I introduce the actual film itself, I do have to remind you that if you like this film, it is eligible for the Blackberry People's Choice Award. You can vote for it for as many films as you like. There are two ways to vote. Simply drop your ticket stub in the ballot box outside the cinema, not at the intermission, at the end. Or you can enter your ticket number at tiff.net/vote. Back to the film. So what you're going to be seeing here is actually one of the directors that brought us one of my favorite films of the last few years, and a real wonderful sensation, which we showed it at TIFF Ballet Box too, called Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. The producer of this series has been making films at BBC and other places, Channel 4, in the UK for many, many years, and he's been at the festival many times. His name is Peter Carlton. And it's wonderful to see them collaborate on something that feels very much like cinema, has a very kind of a mood and a tone that really is reminiscent of Martha Marcy, but yet is absolutely trying to expand the form, and actually trying to talk about television in a different way. So I'd like to bring out, we have some special guests here, the actor in the film. You're going to really be amazed by his performance, Anatoly Yusef, producer Peter Carlton, and director Sean Durkin.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the festival for having us. It's great to be back here. We were here with Martha a couple of years ago, and it was a great experience. So it was really exciting that this was going to be the first North American screening of Southcliffe. Basically, how this came about was we had met Peter a couple of years ago in Cannes, and he had told us about this project he was doing with Tony Bersoni, and I was a big fan of Tony's work, so we sort of waited anxiously to receive the scripts, and it took a while, and then sort of suddenly got them, and we all read them. Excuse me, sorry. And they were just too good to not do. I was really moved by it, and so that took me to England, and so I went over there, and well, you'll see. We did this, so thank you all for coming, and I'll talk more after.
Hi guys. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that little bit of footage at the beginning of my video. That was one of TIFF's programmers, Noah Cowan, introducing Southcliffe. And as you saw, the director, I've got notes here, Sean Durkin was there, and a couple of actors, Anatoly Yusef, and not sure who the other guy was. I didn't catch his name. But anyway, yes, so Southcliffe. Okay. This was a 4-hour movie that was actually a made-for-BBC TV miniseries, I guess. So, in England, in the UK, in Ireland, it aired in different segments, not all at once. Okay, so here we saw it all in one big block. Okay, so summary of the plot. It's about a guy in this small community in England called Southcliffe, who goes on a shooting rampage and kills 15 people and wounds I don't know how many others, and destroys countless lives because of what he did. So first of all, I'm going to say that the first half of this movie, meaning the first 2 parts of this movie, were really, really good. I found them very, very interesting. You know, great acting, really good story. Really liked the way that he built up the tension, the director built up the tension towards what was going to happen. Actually, the movie starts off with somebody being shot right at the beginning. So it starts off when he just goes on his rampage, and then the whole movie is kind of like flashback, flash forward, and all this, you know, various, you know, going back and forth in time, and you know, showing what happened and how it affected all the characters involved. So anyway, the first half of the movie, the first 2 parts, I thought were really, really good. You know, just very riveting, very interesting. And then the second 2 parts, which focused more on the after effects of the rampage and how it affected the lives of, you know, the people who were left behind, family members and stuff like that, not so much. As a matter of fact, I found it quite boring, actually. I found the movie really, really lost momentum in the second half, in the latter 2 parts. Now, when they showed it here at TIFF, they had a little intermission between part 2 and part 3, so there was like maybe, I don't know, 15-20 minute intermission, which I really needed because I was starving to death. So I brought some nuts with me and went out in the lobby and chomped on a few of them, and went back in. So I don't think it was the intermission, though, that was responsible for the kind of drop in energy, because it just wasn't really that interesting. Okay, so in the first part, we see this guy, the guy who is the gunman. He's like this typical, you know, outsider, kind of outcast-looking guy. He's got the really scraggly beard. He's really rough-looking, you know, and he's kind of like, you know, the people in the community kind of treat him as like, you know, like a joke. Like they, you know, they fuck around with him and call him commander and stuff. Now this guy has like, he's like a wannabe military soldier, army guy. We find out later on in the movie that he had tried to enlist, I guess, but he got turned down. Either, I don't know whether it was psychological issues or whatever. But anyway, he had tried to get into the army and he did not make it. So you kind of get the feeling he's like, you know, okay, he always wanted to be a soldier. He's, you know, he's into weapons and all that shit. So he just kind of does this on his own. He trains on his own. He goes running with a backpack on. He's, you know, he fancies himself this like military, you know, daredevil, you know, expert, I guess, right? And at the beginning of the movie, a whole bunch of British soldiers come back from Afghanistan on this bus, and he's waiting there. And then they all go out, you know, they're all back home, so they go to a pub for, you know, they're partying, they're back home, they're with their wives, they're with their families. And one guy in particular, one young guy, who was played by the Game of Thrones guy, what's his name again? Joe Dempsey? Joe Dempsey, yeah. He played the soldier, and he plays Gendron in Game of Thrones. If any of you guys are Game of Thrones fans, I'm a total Game of Thrones freak. I love that show. He plays, he's the guy who plays King Robert's bastard son, and he's the guy who hung out with Arya all the time. In case, you know, if you're interested. If you're not, just skip over this part. But anyway, he played the young British soldier. So anyway, all these soldiers are in this pub, they're partying, you know, they're celebrating that they're back home. And this guy, this kind of outcast guy, sees him, and for some reason decides to focus on him and sort of kind of, you know, buys him a beer and gets to know him and stuff. And then they end up like training together, and something happens. What the hell was it now? It was a long movie, I'm sorry. Yeah, he does this training thing with him where he's like shooting at him with blanks, I'm assuming. And he's like chasing him through the forest. There's like this training exercise to keep him in shape while he's on leave or whatever. And then they find out, his uncle, this soldier's uncle, finds out that the guy didn't make it into the army, and so they beat the crap out of him and humiliate him. And then that's when he goes on the shooting rampage, right? And so, yeah, I mean, that's the basic, you know, premise of the story. And there's like quite a few characters that the movie focuses on. There's a journalist who's like the main, I guess the main character. This guy, David Whitehead, is this journalist. And at first I thought he was kind of cool, and then he just started to annoy the shit out of me, because he just got irritating. Because he used to live in this community of Southcliffe. He's got a history there. He's got a backstory. His father was killed in this accident where 7 other men were also killed along with him, and everybody blamed his father for the accident. So he had this really horrible childhood, and he was childhood friends with the shooter, so they're kind of intertwined. And then another major character was, oh, I should mention her, this actress Shirley Henderson. She was in a British movie I saw last year called Every Day That I Did Not Like, and if you want to watch my video on that, you can check it out. I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, she was in that movie. Have nothing against her as an actress, because she's a really good actress. I just did not like that movie. But in this movie, I really, really liked her. I thought she was great, because her 16-year-old daughter ends up being one of the victims, and she's just like that. She just becomes a complete, total mess. And the guy who was the soldier, the Game of Thrones guy, his wife ends up being shot. This guy, like the shooter, busts into their house in the morning, and they're in bed sleeping, and she's like, she wakes up, hears the noise, and says, hey, like, somebody's in the house. And all of a sudden this guy just bursts in the room and shoots her, and leaves the guy, I guess obviously to, you know, torment him that, hey, I just killed your wife, because they were obviously very much in love, him and his wife. So he did this just to completely, you know, destroy him. And so another thing is like how it affects him, how it affects the soldier, and the journalist, and who else? I can't think of any others at the moment. But anyway, the second half of the movie focuses more on how the shooting affected the community of Southcliffe, and all these like kind of little stuff that's going, all the stuff that goes on underneath. Like, people don't want to talk about shit. People don't want to confront stuff that happened in the past that wasn't right. And, you know, that's where the journalist guy got irritating, because he went on a couple of, like, tantrums in this pub, saying, oh, you people are this, you people are that, and I'm like, you know, and he's, like, judging them and being all moral and stuff, and I just didn't get that. This movie is going to get a mixed review from me. I'm sorry if this is kind of all over the place, because I'm really tired right now. But yeah, like, it started off so good. It started off really, really interesting, and the killer actually was a really, really great character, because, and you couldn't help feeling a little bit sorry for him, because he was this kind of outcast guy. He lived in this, like, really shabby flat with his invalid mother. He took care of his invalid mother, which is extremely depressing, these scenes where he's like lifting her up in bed and giving her breakfast, and she's like moaning in pain, and you know, you just get a sense this guy's life is complete and total like pain and devastation. You know, like, he's really had a rough life. And so I guess sympathetically showing him in a sympathetic light in a way, like, I guess the director trying to show how, you know, these things can happen. Like, I mean, you know, we've heard about, God knows we've heard about all these, like, people who go on these shooting rampages lately. It's become kind of an epidemic, right? I mean, you hear about them every once in a while. A whole rash of them seem to be happening for a while there, like last year with, like, in the Batman movie, when the guy broke into the theater and killed all those people, and then all the school shootings, you know. So I guess this was this director's way of kind of addressing that phenomenon, like how it can happen, why it happens, and how it affects people and stuff like that. But I thought he really just kind of lost steam in the second half of this movie. He did a really, really good job in the first half setting it up, you know, laying the foundation of the characters, who they were, and all that stuff. But then when everything, you know, when they were like dealing with it, it just kind of went on and on and on, and didn't really go anywhere, you know. And he seemed to be setting up this journalist as like the moral kind of like the moral judge of the whole of like society, saying, well, you know, why does this happen, and how does this happen, and stuff like that. And so yeah, a note, this guy Sean Durkin, the director, he also directed a movie called Martha, Marcy, May Marlene, which I also saw and which I liked a lot. That was a movie starring whatever Olsen, Mary, not the Olsen twins, but their other sister, who's a real actress. She's actually very good, and she was in that movie. She was the star of that movie, and it was about a girl who was who got into a religious cult and then got out of the cult, and then was trying to kind of like readjust to life after leaving this religious cult, being brainwashed and under the control of this cult leader. So I really enjoyed that. It was like a really good psychological study, and I guess this was also a psychological study, not only of the killer but of the people in the community. But it was too large a scale. It was too big for this guy, I think. So that's why it didn't really work for me, I don't think. It was definitely not a bad movie. I would definitely give it a thumbs up over a thumbs down, but I'd have to give it one of these wavy things, because it really just did lose a lot of momentum in the second half, which was a shame, because he did such a good job in the first half. It was really good, really interesting, a lot of tension, a lot of drama, really fascinating to watch the characters, especially this killer, you know, kind of leading up to what he did and why he did it and all that stuff. So yeah, so that is my review of Southcliffe. Did not love it, did not hate it, pretty neutral, I guess. It was okay. So anyway, I'm seeing another movie tomorrow. I'll be back with another review. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please subscribe for more reviews. There are many more to come. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, you know how I added the footage at the beginning of this video? I'm going to also be taking footage of every screening that I'm at. So I'll be showing you guys like the intros, and if there's any actors there, directors, all that stuff. So you guys will be right in there with me and seeing what I see. Okay? So I hope you guys enjoy that too, because it's really cool. Okay, bye. See you later.